Hi, I'm Lisa from Australian travel and migration blog dreamingofdownunder.com, and today I'm going to show you some typical housing designs in Australia. One of the things that really surprised me when I moved here was how many nice older homes there are from the 19th century, as well as a really big variation in design in the more modern homes. From watching programs like Wanted Down Under, I got the impression that homes here were all very similar to each other and quite bland inside, when actually it's really not like that at all. I made a previous video on the differences between houses in the UK and houses in Australia. That's been really popular, so hopefully this one will be useful too if you're thinking of moving here. I find property design really interesting, and I take photos of houses a lot as I'm walking around, and I've also house sat in hundreds of properties in Australia, so I've lived in lots of different areas all built in different times. I'm not an expert on architecture, but I've tried to categorise the older houses into which era they were built, so hopefully I've got them right, but just let me know in the comments if you want to add any more information or if I've miscategorised any of them. Also, I just spent 4 months redesigning my blog during the Sydney lockdown, so if you have time, please take a look if you want to learn more about life in Australia or travelling here. Okay, let's get going. Starting with the oldest home design, you've got colonial homes which were made between 1800 and 1849. So these homes are often made from large bricks or stones and have a symmetrical design, and their roofs are usually corrugated iron, and they have small multi-pane windows. From the 1840s onwards, Queenslander houses were made, and I think this design is probably the most recognisably Australian home because it's quite unique. They still make these today actually. So these have a light timber frame and they're raised from the ground on stumps, which is made to suit the hot and very wet climate in Queensland. So the elevation lets the heavy rain flow underneath the house, and it protects the base of the building from pests and termites. And it also maximises the airflow through the house to keep it cooler and reduce mould from the humidity. So I'm not sure if other states have these houses as well. Maybe they are in the more northern parts, but the Queenslander houses aren't everywhere, so they're not common in New South Wales. Then from 1850 to 1901, Victorian homes were built. So these houses are very common in Sydney, especially around some of the inner city areas and parts of the inner west, and they have quite ornate designs. They're really nice. Victorian terrace houses are probably, I would say, the most iconic style of house in Sydney. There's really a lot of these. They usually have quite a flat front with intricate ironwork across the balconies and verandas, but you also get these more decorative style ones. So this row of houses is quite a well-known street called Lennox Street in Newtown in Sydney, which has got street art across both the sides of the houses. You also get some really big detached Victorian homes as well, like this one. So next is Federation homes, which were built from the 1890s to the 1920s. So these came after the Victorian period, and they look quite different. They're quite often red brick homes. They have really high chimneys and terracotta roofs, and they're very common in parts of the inner west in Sydney, like Haberfield. From around 1915 to 1930, Californian bungalows were popular. So these are single-storey houses based on a design in California, which has a similar climate to parts of Australia. So they usually have a long veranda that might wrap around the building, and then the roof isn't as steep as it is on a Federation home. In the 1930s, Art Deco style became popular in Australia, which is a bit later than in other countries. So these designs tend to have curved walls and curved windows and geometric shapes and bright pastel colours. You don't see as many as these homes as you do the Victorian or Federation homes in Australia, but if you keep your eyes peeled, you will spot a few here and there. During the post-war period in 1940 to 1949, homes were made much more cheaply because of supply shortages. So prefab houses were common, as well as Fibro cottages, which were made of fibrous cement sheets. These can look quite nice if they've been renovated, but they can be quite run down, and also asbestos was used in the sheeting back then. Moving on to more modern home designs from the 1950s onwards, you've got quite a big variation in housing styles. So you'll see quite a lot of just simple red brick homes in Australia, which look a little bit like English homes, I guess. So these can be either bungalows or two-storey homes. So a common style for larger, really modern homes in Australia is a very sleek minimalist look, where all the surfaces are very flat and the windows are really large. The Hamptons style homes is my personal favourite in Australia, as it really looks like a beach house. So this is named after the Hamptons area in New York. So the houses have a really kind of coastal look. They're usually light coloured or white with weatherboard facades. So beach homes in general can have really different looks, but they often have very big floor-to-ceiling windows to maximise the views and the light. In some of the more forested areas of Australia, like the very northern end of Sydney's northern beaches, homes often use timber or natural colours to blend the building in with the landscape. This home, there's greenery all across the roof, so it completely blends in with the forest. So occasionally you'll see homes with a really Mediterranean design in Australia, so people use terracotta colours or rough textures to give it a Mediterranean look. In more urban areas of the cities, it's quite common to convert old warehouses or factories into apartment blocks, so these are quite cool. So this one is from a Colgate palmolive factory that opened in the 1920s in Balmain. So also there are lots of apartment blocks in Australia, so just in case you're thinking it's all big detached houses and mansions by the sea, there are lots and lots of apartments too, particularly in the cities. So you've got high-rise apartments, you get really modern ones, you can get really old ones, you can get ones that look like they're from inner city London, or like they're in a London crime drama or something. Also low-rise or mid-rise apartments, these are quite common, particularly in beach areas. So weatherboard homes are quite common in Australia too, but it can just be cladding. It can even be a plastic sheet that's moulded to look like wooden planks. So the house isn't necessarily made of wood, but it's just made to look that way. I quite like this type. I like it when it's in a light colour, and I prefer those to just the red brick houses that we have in England. That's it for my list of Australian house designs. I hope you enjoyed watching. I'll hopefully be making more regular videos again now I've finished redesigning my website. Just let me know in the comments if there are any particular topics you'd like me to make videos on, and please like and subscribe for more videos on life in Australia. Thanks for watching.